Welcome to the 5th episode of Halloween Babies Podcast. I am your host, Billy D, and today I am going to run down my top 10 horror films of 2023, so let's dive in. Starting off with number 10 is Wicked Games, written and directed by Teddy Greenan. When Harley joins her boyfriend for a Halloween weekend at his family's estate, they're invaded by a band of masked freaks and forced into playing a game. But the intruders don't know that Harley is ready to fight back with her own tricks. This low-budget horror thriller was filmed not far from me in the beautiful Charlottesville, Virginia area, and I have to say, it was a fun ride. Yes, the story is derivative, but I found the cinematography to be fresh and kinetic. The music and the stinger drops were on point, and the writing and acting were strong. This is a perfect example of low-budget horror done right. Props to Teddy Greenan in his first feature film debut. He is currently working on a second feature entitled Catch a Killer, so be on the lookout for that. I rate Wicked Games an 8 out of 10. Coming in at number 9. This is a film that I have not heard anyone talk badly about. It is Godzilla Minus One, written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki. In post-war Japan, Japan is at zero, its lowest point, when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb. Japan is now at -1. This is a 124-minute blockbuster that looks great, moves at an excellent pace, has characters you connect with, and is overflowing with heart. Takashi Yamazaki took $15 million and produced one of the best classic-style monster movies that puts most of the bloated, over-stylized, and poorly written American efforts to shame. I give Godzilla Minus One an 8 out of 10. Coming in at number 8, No One Will Save You, written and directed by Brian Duffield. An exiled, anxiety-ridden homebody must battle an alien who's found its way into her home. Caitlin Dever kills it in this PG-13 alien home invasion thrill ride that has almost zero dialogue. The cinematography is excellent and each shot is meticulously crafted, especially during the first act that builds tension and intrigue. The last act switches gears and gives us our 2020s commentary on grief, shame, regret, and redemption. I know a lot of people took issue with the ending, but upon second viewing, the idea of a broken shell of a woman looking for acceptance, forgiveness, and the American dream totally made sense. So knock on any door. You'll find a smile on every face, friendly kind of folk who never let you down. Knock on any door. I give No One Will Save You an 8 out of 10. Coming in at number 7 is Sick, written by Kevin Williamson and Caitlin Crabb, directed by John Hyams. In the midst of the pandemic, college student Parker and her best friend Miri decide to self-quarantine at her family's lake house where they will be alone, or so they think. I am becoming a big fan of John Hyams with 2020's Alone and the excellent zombie series Black Summer that shamefully only got 2 seasons and ended in 2021. I really dig his storytelling style. Sick came out early in 2023 and I knew nothing about it as I put it on, expecting it to play in the background as I sat on the couch playing guitar. About 10 minutes in, I had to put my axe down and pay attention because this fast-paced 83-minute horror thriller had me hooked. With a few unexpected twists and some brutal kills, I gave Sick an 8 out of 10. Coming in at number 6 is Birth Rebirth. Script by Laura Moss and Brendan J. O'Brien, directed by Laura Moss. A single mother and a childless morgue technician are bound together by their relationship to a little girl they have reanimated from the dead. This movie was basically what if David Cronenberg made The Odd Couple. Marin Ireland and Judy Rias give excellent performances playing different sides of the same coin until lines start to blur and their personalities merge. It's the clinical mind versus the bedside manner, the intellect versus the personality. It's a dryly comical and horrific take on the Frankenstein tale that weaves in commentary on motherhood, morality, and sacrifice. I gave Birth Rebirth an 8 out of 10. Coming in at number 5, we have Knock at the Cabin, based on the book The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, which I read and I highly recommend. The screenplay by M. Night Shyamalan and Steve Desmond and Michael Sherman, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. While vacationing at a remote cabin, a young girl and her parents are taken hostage by 4 strangers who demand that the family makes an unthinkable choice to avert the apocalypse. With limited access to the outside world, the family must decide what they believe before all is lost. Having read the novel this was based on, I was excited to hear this was finally being made into a film. I thought to myself, who could play the gentle yet imposing Leonard, and Dave Bautista was the first to come to my mind. Bautista, who is quickly becoming a force to be reckoned with, not just for his size and build, but for his fast-growing acting abilities and screen presence. Everyone in the film does a great job with their performance, but it is Bautista who truly shines. The film is tightly focused and gets right to the point, mostly taking place in a cabin or surrounding forest. We get a few flashback scenes that give us some backstory on a few characters and some information provided through televised news reports. The film touches on many valid themes of belief and acceptance, compassion and ambivalence, coincidence and confirmation, as well as family and religion. It is a Shyamalan film after all, and we do get his heavy-handed approach at times, but also his wonderful visual style and his ability to build tension and pull on the heartstrings. I gave Knock at the Cabin an 8.5 out of 10. Next up at number 4, we have The Passenger, written by Jack Stanley, directed by Carter Smith. Randolph Bradley is perfectly content fading into the background, but when his co-worker Benson snaps and goes on a violent killing spree, he's forced to face his fears and confront his troubled past in order to find a way to survive. This is a brutal and powerfully effective thriller about how trauma can lead to paralyzing regret. Johnny Birchtold and Kyle Gallner give excellent performances, as well as all the secondary players that I found emotive and endearing. One of the few of my top rated films that I was unable to watch a second time, but I'm confident it will hold up. I gave The Passenger a 9 out of 10. Number 3 is a film everyone was talking about this year, and that is Talk to Me, written by Danny Filippo, Bill Hinsman, and Daley Pearson, directed by Danny and Michael Filippo. When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. What can I say about this one? The first feature film by 2 young brothers who cut their teeth with YouTube videos produced one of the most talked about films of the year. Possession as a party drug and spirits that prey upon your grief to gain access to our world. It's got some of the most brutal scenes that grace the screen this year and also gives us that chef's kiss ending. The Filippo brothers are currently in production on a new Street Fighter adaptation, but a Talk to Me prequel is greenlit as well. I gave Talk to Me a 9 out of 10. Coming in at number 2 is Leave the World Behind, based on the novel by Rumen Alam, with a screenplay and direction by Sam Esmail. A family's getaway to a luxurious rental home takes an ominous turn when a cyber attack knocks out their devices and 2 strangers appear at the door. This seemed to be a divisive one, especially that ending, but I loved it. Initially, the score and cinematography drew me in, and once I found out how far into an apocalypse scenario we were diving into, I was fully on board. Upon second viewing, I started noticing little clues and metaphors hidden in the set design. A coffee cup with a 76 written on it and a highway exit sign for Exit 76, Point Comfort. 76 referencing our nation's independence. The color blue implying the unknown and red implying uncertainty. A picture above the stairs to the bunker that read, "Hope begins in the dark," and all the symbolism of the deer, symbols for innocence, idiocy, personal transformation, and as a warning. We get so many references to the TV show Friends, and the message behind the theme song may be too much on the nose in its subtext, but in looking back at the original run of that show, it started in 1994 and ended in 2004. That decade span was so bloated with uncertainty. We had Y2K, the rise of the global internet, misinformation spreading like a virus. That decade was a driving force for where we sit as a nation today, so divided, so connected, and so alone. I gave Leave the World Behind a 9.5 out of 10. That brings me to my number one film of 2023, and that is When Evil Lurks, written and directed by Damien Rugna. Residents of a small rural town discover that a demon is about to be born amongst them. They desperately try to escape before the evil is born, but it may be too late. Just like his previous film, Terrified, Damien Rugna has crafted a truly dark and disturbing story that goes way beyond what you see on the surface. Little hints at how long evil has been quietly brewing are handled ever so slightly and seem almost inconsequential, but there is a method to his madness. Brutal and gory, Rugna combines elements of classic subgenre favorites such as possessions, zombies, evil children, and hints at a possible apocalypse, but he does so in a way that feels fresh and new while building a mysterious, strange, and horrifying world. Pay attention to the drawing Pedro pulls from his eldest son's pocket. It seems to be one thing, but it's entirely something else. Rugna also contributed a segment to this year's Latino-centric anthology, Satanic Hispanics. It was actually my personal favorite segment of that film, entitled Tambien Lo Vi. Props to Damien Rugna. I gave When Evil Lurks a 9.5 out of 10. Well, there you have my top 10 horror films of 2023 list. But there were quite a few films that I really enjoyed that just didn't make the cut. A few of these might have been on the list at times, but they got bumped. So I'd like to give a quick rundown of those. First off is Infinity Pool by Brandon Cronenberg. While staying at an isolated island resort, James and Em are enjoying a perfect vacation of pristine beaches, exceptional staff, and soaking up the sun. But guided by the seductive and mysterious Gabby, they venture outside their resort grounds and find themselves in a culture filled with violence, hedonism, and untold horror. Next is Evil Dead Rise, directed by Lee Cronin. Three siblings find an ancient vinyl that gives birth to bloodthirsty demons that run amok in Los Angeles' apartment building and thrusts them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. Next was Spoonful of Sugar by Mercedes Bryce Morgan. Millicent, working on her thesis about children with severe allergies, is hired to babysit little Johnny, a sickly mute child who suffers from every allergy under the sun. As she discovers Johnny's dark family secrets, things begin to become unhinged. Next up is Where the Devil Roams, directed by Toby Poser, John Adams, and Zelda Adams, known as the Addams Family. You know, I was a fan of The Deeper You Dig from 2020 and a bigger fan of Hellbender from 2022. I quite enjoyed Where the Devil Roams, and I am looking forward to watching it again. And it is about a family of murderous sideshow performers who travel around the world on a dying carnival circuit. Next is Baby Blue, directed by Adam Mason. A group of teens stumble across the story of now dead serial killer Baby Blue and decide he'd be the perfect subject of a true crime vodcast. But when they start digging, they quickly discover that his murder spree never stopped. Now they are being targeted from beyond the grave. Next up is Hunt Her, Kill Her, directed by Greg Swinson and Ryan Thiessen. A desperate young mother, Karen, takes a job as the night shift janitor at a large furniture factory. She is told that she is the only one working at this time, but after seeing a strange vehicle idling in the parking lot and finding a door to the factory ajar, she gets the feeling she might not be alone after all. Next up is Influencer by Curtis David Harder. While struggling on a solo backpacking trip in Thailand, social media influencer Madison meets CW, who travels with ease and shows her a more uninhibited way of living. But CW's interest in her takes a dark turn. Next up is Candyland, directed by John Swab. Remy, a seemingly naive and devout young woman, finds herself cast out from her religious cult. With no place to turn, she immerses herself into the underground world of truck stop sex workers. Under the watchful eye of their matriarch and an enigmatic local lawman, Remy navigates between her strained belief system and the code to find her true calling in life. Next up is Resurrected by Igor Baranov. This is one of those screen life, semi-found footage films. In the nearest future, the Catholic Church learned how to resurrect people. The whole process is kept secret and follows strict rules. Only sinless believers under the age of 65 can be resurrected. The film is set on the computer of Stanley, an online church priest who helps those who were brought back to life. He is divorced and his son lives with his ex-wife, so he can chat with him online only. Stanley's son was the first person to be resurrected after he died in a car accident that Stanley caused. Soon, Stanley learns that there is a huge conspiracy behind the resurrection process. Next up is Nowhere by Albert Pinto. A young pregnant woman named Mia escapes from a country at war by hiding in a maritime container aboard a cargo ship. After a violent storm, Mia gives birth to the child while lost at sea, where she must fight to survive. Next up is Cobweb, directed by Samuel Bowden. 8-year-old Peter is plagued by a mysterious constant tapping from inside his bedroom wall, one that his parents insist is all in his imagination. As Peter's fear intensifies, he believes that his parents could be hiding a terrible, dangerous secret and questions their trust. Next up is the sequel to Horror in the High Desert, and that's Horror in the High Desert 2 Minerva, directed by Dutch Marich. In 2018, a string of tragedies unfold in the high desert of northeastern Nevada. A woman was found dead and another would vanish along the same stretch of remote highway. Could these events be linked to the infamous 2017 disappearance of outdoorsman Gary Hinge? Next up is Huesera the Bone Woman by Michelle Garza Cervera. Valeria's joy at becoming a first-time mother is quickly taken away when she's cursed by a sinister entity. As danger closes in, she's forced deeper into a chilling world of dark magic that threatens to consume her. Next up is Missing by Nicholas D. Johnson and Will Merrick. When her mother disappears while on vacation in Colombia with her new boyfriend, June's search for answers is hindered by international red tape. Stuck thousands of miles away in Los Angeles, June creatively uses all of the latest technology at her fingertips to try and find her before it's too late. But as she digs deeper, her digital sleuthing raises more questions than answers. And when June unravels secrets about her mom, she discovers that she never really knew her at all. Next up is The Lesson by Alice Troughton. Liam, an aspiring and ambitious young writer, eagerly accepts a tutoring position at the family estate of his idol, renowned author J.M. Sinclair. But soon Liam realizes that he is ensnared in a web of family secrets, resentment, and retribution. Sinclair, his wife Helena, and their son Bertie all guard a dark past, one that threatens Liam's future as well as their own. And finally, we have Sanctuary by Zachary Wiggin. Confined to a claustrophobic hotel room, the heir to a hotel empire and the dominatrix who has primed him for success become locked in a battle of wits and wills as he tries to end his relationship with her. Well, there you have it. That is the list of my honorable mentions for 2023. And once again, my top 10 list is number 10, Wicked Games. Number 9, Godzilla -1. Number 8, No One Will Save You. Number 7, Sick. Number 6, Birth Rebirth. Number 5, Knock at the Cabin. Number 4, The Passenger. Number 3, Talk to Me. Number 2, Leave the World Behind. And number 1, When Evil Lurks. So I'd just like to thank you for listening to Halloween Babies Podcast episode number 5. Feel free to contact me at halloweenbabiespodcast@gmail.com or check me out on Instagram and YouTube at Halloween Babies Podcast. I hope everyone has a wonderful start to their new year. And until next month, stay scared.